Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Slipping Out. In this one we'll be taking a look for behind the scenes gaming secrets and also out of bounds secrets on the classic Mafia. Now this proved to be a fairly complicated game to create a camera for, so unfortunately there were some limitations to what I could film, but as always I have done my best to show as much as possible. So for this one we're going to begin on the menu screen, and if you did ever wonder what was going on outside this small room, if you haven't already guessed from the thumbnail that is, the room is floating within a large skybox, and to be honest there's not too much else to see out here. However, that's not to say there's no secrets hidden within the room itself. For instance, if we take a look over at this wall on the left, I found a bit of a mystery which I'm not sure has ever been noticed before due to how the camera works on this screen. So unlike the console version, the PC version does not have a Grand Prix mode, therefore the camera never moves towards this shelf. However, on the flip side, the console version doesn't have this model of car on the shelf. But if we take a closer look, we can clearly see that the manufacturer name is Alfa Romeo, who of course built the 8C rather than Caesar. But as far as I know, there is no other way of seeing this normally, so I thought it was a pretty cool detail to show. Before we enter the main missions, I just wanted to show a few of the side features of the game, including the car cyclopedia. If I move the camera backwards, you can see what looks like a nice reflection on the floor. However, as we've seen before in Slipping Out episodes, this is a neat little trick done by developers, as in fact the floor is transparent and there's a rather less detailed copy of the showroom flipped upside down underneath. On to the intro now, and there's a lot I wanted to show in this opening scene, especially how the movement of the characters work, which often happens purposely off camera as the camera pans to somewhere or someone else, for instance when Tommy takes his coat off and how the waitress moves around the bar. Notice how not only does Tommy walk through the fireplace, but seemingly teleports to a new position without his coat. This is because the new model of Tommy is entering the scene, whilst the old model teleports out.
Sorry for the delay, but I didn't want anybody seeing me, if you know what I mean.
What can I get you, sir?
Just a coffee.
Coming right up.
It's not my habit to sit with people like you.
Got a business proposition for you, detective.
I ain't no businessman. And even if I were, I wouldn't be doing business with the likes of you.
I don't usually do business with your kind either.
Another pretty cool detail I noticed was when I took a closer look at the waitress's notepad. It turns out it's not a notepad at all, in fact it's a newspaper. Take a closer look at the picture and you may notice a crosshair, as if the picture was taken while someone was playing the game. There are some strange characters in the bar that we never get to see, maybe even listening in on our conversations with the detective. This chap definitely looks as though he's up to something suspicious. Very quickly, let's just take a look at what's outside the bar, and as you can see, the characters that were walking past have now finished moving along their set path animations. And here's just a quick flyover so you get a good idea of what's loaded outside. During the first mission's opening animation, we follow a car chase, and just like the character models, they also wait just out of shot to enter the scenes. Developers often use sound effects to imply that something has happened off camera, whilst really there is nothing to physically see. Towards the end of the car chase, something you may not realise, as the camera cuts back to Tommy at the time, is that not only do we get a sound effect of a crash, but off camera, the car actually crashes into the side of a house.
When I opened the envelope, I almost had a heart attack.
Something I really wanted to know was at the end of the mission we can see Tommy sat in a chair in some kind of house. It turns out that this is just a small set-like area based inside the car garage behind the bar. It almost looks like how a real-life film set would be, which is interesting as the game often feels like you're playing as the star within a movie. Mission 4 is set at the motel out in the countryside, and after whacking a few goons, we can see an animation of the boss coming out from a locked room. Now, you can see inside this room if you go in afterwards and forfeit the mission. However, he is always stood inside this room from start to finish, which means by shooting through this window, you can complete the whole mission before it's even got going.
I wonder what the next job will be like.
It's race day, folks, and whilst Tommy and Frank are having their little chat in the pit lane, something you may not know is that by moving what would be the car's steering left or right, off camera you are actually controlling the car, which is sat on the grid waiting to go along with all the other racers too. A question that was sent to me by one of my members on Discord was if Sam is inside the barn at the farm all the way through the mission, or whether he is triggered to appear up here at some point. It turns out that he is indeed always up here, although it has to be said, not looking too great. Back in the city but still on the farm mission, a strange secret can be found that was brought to my attention by the same Discord and Patreon member, who asked if I could take a look at a vehicle which can be spotted on the radar. However, it sits inside a compound that's inaccessible to the player. If we take a look, we can find it's a highway patrol car, although the reason for it being sat here is still not fully known. Whilst playing the missions, we visit many different locations, one of them being an airport, and during this first airport mission, we can find some police cars waiting just out of bounds, and these come to the airport unless we whack a geezer who tries to call them. Talking about locations, I guess it's a good time to show some of these places, but during free ride mode, when unfortunately we cannot enter them. As you can see, there is a huge difference in how they look. The buildings are empty, and as expected, there's not a whole lot of detail compared to how they look during the missions. Probably the biggest change is the racing circuit, which if we fly through the tunnel, just doesn't load up at all. However, it's not only during free ride mode that these locations change to suit. Take a look at how the map changes from the first mission at the airport to the second, which now features a much longer runway for the plane to attempt to take off.
How'd you like it, Tommy?
It was fantastic, boss. I'll have to bring Sarah here sometime.
Ah, yes, you certainly should, Tommy. Just be careful that Sarah doesn't take offense. She cooks worse than Peppy. What the hell is going on? This is ruining my lunch.
Marilla must have nothing better to do.
They could have at least let me taste the wine, Gavones.
Let's get this over with.
Throw him his present, Joe. Maybe we'll smoke him out.
Working for you is real interesting, boss.
What'd you say? My ears are ringing from that blast.
Yes, boss.
It looks like we won't get out this way. Try and run around the back of them, while I keep them entertained.
Yes, boss. Be careful.
One of my favourite scenes during Mafia has to be the attempted hit that takes place on the railroad crossing, and it was also a scene that was interesting to find out how it all fit together. You may notice in the background of some of the shots there is already an overturned car, but I'm not entirely sure why this is here, as you never really see it clearly during any of the normal camera shots. However, here is how the train works. It moves forward and backwards on the same section of track, going quicker and quicker each time it appears on camera. Then it teleports to the crossing when need be, just in time for the car to be on the track.
Why don't the barriers close? Go!
Real damn professional.
I noticed something whilst taking general shots of the prison tower mission when we assassinate the politician known as Mr. Sewer, and it's been playing on my mind whilst making this episode. As far as I can tell, very little is known about this chap, but I could swear his face looks like a famous Hollywood actor, and this is where I need your help, because I just cannot pinpoint who I'm thinking of. Feel free to give me some suggestions in the comments of who you may think this looks like.
Don't move, scumbag!
Oh, shit!
Surprise! You weren't looking for that at Paulie's by chance.
Sam, what's going on? I thought we were meeting alone.
Alright guys, we are coming towards the end of the episode now. I know it's been a little shorter than usual, but as I mentioned at the beginning, there were quite a few camera technical difficulties I had to overcome on this one. If you have anything else you want to see, hit me up on one of the social media sites listed in the description, and I will do my best to try and find out whatever curiosity you may have. However, we're not quite finished yet, as we still have the final scenes to look at, including where these papers and the end screen appear, which, just like the menu screen at the start, are floating around in a skybox. In this instance though, they are in front of a large black cube. We then get a shot of Tommy inside his prison cell, so of course, naturally, I wanted to know where this was based in the Mafia world, and it turns out it's not actually too far from home. You may have also just noticed in that shot the city in the background, and that's because if we take a look over there, we can find the bar Tommy and the inspector are sat talking in. Therefore, all in all, we can find 3 different models of Tommy just in this one scene. So there we go, that is it for this episode of Slipping Out. It was pretty hard work to get this one done, but I certainly hope you've enjoyed it anyway. If you did, then it would be awesome if you could hit that like button. I'd really appreciate that. If I don't see you on the social media sites in the description, I hope to see you in the comments here or on the next episode of Slipping Out. Thanks again, and as always, take care.